with that, let's welcome Sam Carchidi back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Sam, welcome.
Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Hey Sam, great to have you back on with
Hey,
us. We'll talk a good bit about the current Flyers in just a minute, but since it's fresh in our minds, the Flyers last night inducted a couple of guys into the team's Hall of Fame. I was pulling for our pal Lou Nolan to get in, but I guess he's got to wait another year or two. They did, though, honor a couple of pretty good longtime Flyers this year, Paul Holmgren and Rick Tocchet. You saw their whole careers, and you wrote a terrific piece about them as well in the Inquirer. Good choices. What do you think?
Yeah, terrific choices. I actually am one of the voters, and truth be told, I did vote for Lou Nolan. I voted for Holmgren and Nolan, but Rick Tocchet is a great choice, and there are players like Simone Gagne jumps to mind that are not in there that deserve to be in there and will be at some point. But Tocchet had a tremendous career. I just thought Lou Nolan has been there since the beginning, since 1967. He's a true Flyer, but these guys are true Flyers as well. So I'm not going to argue with the choices. And to me, they're very similar type players. They play with a gritty style, and yes, Tocchet scored over 400 goals, but he also led the Flyers in penalty minutes almost every year, and Holmgren did too, as far as the penalty minutes, and chipped in with 20 goal seasons, even had a 30 goal season. So they were much more than physical players, and the Flyers would love to have a player like either of them on this year's team, no question.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm a huge Rick Tocchet fan as well, and I'm glad that he made it. I have to ask you, Sam, why did it take 5 years? What was the reason that they didn't induct anybody over that period of time? All these guys were certainly available back then as well.
Yeah, I think they try to spread it out, and you don't want to have too many guys in there. You run out of people, quite frankly, if you have 2 or 3 guys going in every year, and it kind of dilutes it, I think. So I think that's why I think they would have probably had it last year, but with the pandemic, it spread out, stretched out to 5 years. But to me, Holmgren is Mr. Flyer, and he should have been in a while ago. And I think they waited with him, and I think he kind of put it on pause because he was connected to the team. He was the club president for a while, and I think he thought it looked, kind of unfair if he went in when he was still the club president. Now he's an advisor, and he's connected to the team, but not real closely connected, if you know what I mean. So it's a little bit different. I think he felt more comfortable now if he did get elected, and he did. I don't know the official vote, but I'm sure he was a landslide winner, and rightfully so. I don't think anybody on any NHL team has worn as many hats as Paul Holmgren has. I mean, from player to assistant coach to general manager, assistant general manager, club president. I'm probably forgetting one in there somewhere because he did everything except sell popcorn. He was, he was an ambassador for the Flyers, and he truly loves the Flyers and has a deep connection with Ed Snyder, the late great Ed Snyder, and that came out in his speech yesterday, and it also came out with Rick Tocchet. I mean, these guys were treated like family. And that all started with Ed Snyder, and it was just great to see a lot of these guys came back, of course, for the alumni game on Monday, and these guys have a reverence for both Snyder and the organization, and hopefully the players that are there now will also have that. Dave Scott, who is now the chairman, he talked about how he is trying to keep that family atmosphere, and I think Ed Snyder kind of ran it like a mom and pop store, if you will, and which is tough to do in this day and age of the big business and Comcast, and to Dave Scott's credit, he's trying to maintain that. It's not as easy today to do that, and like I said, to his credit, he's trying to keep that hands-on approach, but not too much hands-on, but just to be involved with the players. I mean, Chet, you were probably down there many times after a game where Ed Snyder would go in the home locker room after every game and shake hands with the players and just try to find out things about the players. How's the family doing? That kind of, he really had the connection, which I'm not so sure you see in a lot of organizations today.
Well, congrats to both Tuckett and Homer, and let's get Lou Nolan in next year, hopefully. Hey, as we speak, Sam, the Flyers are 8-4-2, off to a real good start this year. Your take on their performance so far?
Yeah, 8-4-2, and the power play has been pretty bad. So and they've missed two key players for most of that time, as you know. Kevin Hayes came back the other day, had a little bit of a scare last night where he got tangled up with a player and went down on the ice and went to the locker room for repairs. And he said that he was thinking the worst right away, but he came back in the third period, scored a big goal in the second period. So they've missed him for most of the year, and the same with Ryan Ellis, who was out again. And they're being real cagey about when Ryan Ellis will return. They're just saying it's week to week, but I wouldn't be surprised if they held him out until after the Olympic break in late February. Because,
wow.
And again, I have no documentation on this, but I would not be surprised. And you just wonder if he's going to need surgery. The conjecture is it's a groin issue, but again, the Flyers will just call it a lower body injury. Will he need surgery? Again, no one knows at this point. But I think the guy who really deserves a lot of credit is Justin Braun. He played on the top pairing a lot last year, and that top pairing with Ivan Provorov was not. They were okay. They weren't dominating. They've been very good so far this year, and Braun deserves a lot of credit. He's really a third pairing defenseman, but he stepped in and he's blocking shots and knocking away passes and just being a consummate pro, and he deserves a lot of credit. And I think the other plus on the defense has been Rasmus Ristolainen, who's given them a physical presence, which they really did not have on that back end last year. And so the defense has done its job. I mean, they're last I looked, they were in the top 5 in the league for giving up goals. But as you mentioned in the opening, they're having a hard time scoring goals. It's like 8 or 9 straight games, or 2 games or less. But I think what you saw yesterday, a 2-1 win over Calgary, is what you're going to see from this team, unless the power play starts clicking. They're going to have to grind out and win games 2-1, maybe 3-2, 1-0. And the goaltending has been tremendous. I mean, Carter Hart has been everything they could have hoped for. He's had the bounce back season that I think a lot of us thought he would have. He's done it on too many levels, including the NHL, to have last year define his career. And he's played great. That's the main reason they're 8-4-2 right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to you. Carter Hart, 2.19. Martin Jones also has been good in his limited duty, 2.27 for a combined 2.21. I said to Chet the other night after the game, your goaltender played really good when you lost 3-0 and he's the number 1 star. Carter Hart, I think I haven't seen every period of the season, but I would say he's had one bad period this season where they gave up 4 goals there, I believe, in the second or third game in the second period. Other than that, he's been rock solid.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Bill. He's been more aggressive this year and just seems more confident. He's standing up taller. He made himself too small, I thought, last year, and he got beat on the height of the glove side a lot last year. We haven't seen that so far this year. I mean, it's a small sample size, 14 games, but his confidence is building, and it's reassuring to his teammates too. They know even if they have an off night, Carter's going to keep him in the game, and they're, it's back to the old days with Bernie Perron. Maybe the team wasn't clicking that night, and he would steal a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win, and you feel like that's been happening. He has stolen a couple games this year, and you mentioned Martin Jones, he has too. So the big key, and I talked to Bob Clark about this the other night. He says you have to win in this league. Obviously, you need the great goaltending, but you need to have your power play working, and that's a bit of a concern right now. In practice today, Alain Vigneault switched up the power play a little bit, and he's got Provorov back on the top pairing. He's got Broussard now on the top power play, I should say, and Yandel's back on the second power play unit. So they're trying to mix things up a little bit. I think they're in like a 3 for 34 funk on the power play. They're a little over 8% in the last 10 games, and it's difficult to win when your power play has been that bad. To their credit, the penalty kill has been much improved this year. So, that kind of balances things out a little bit. But if you want to be a legitimate Stanley Cup contender, you have to be really good. You don't have to be great, but you have to be good in both special teams, PK and power play, and they have a lot of work to do. That's for sure.
You talked about Ryan Ellis. Kevin Hayes also missed a lot of time with an injury, came back on Saturday, of course, scored that memorable goal last night dedicated to his brother, who he lost a couple of months back. Then he got hurt again. Now, is Hayes okay? I know he did come back in the third period, but is he okay, or is that something that you're going to have to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when a guy has surgery twice, he's abdominal surgery twice, within the last year, it is a concern. But he's okay. I mean, I was at practice today. He was skating and looked normal. But it's going to take him a while. He had not played for 6 months in a game, so I think it's going to take him a while to get his timing back. I was a little surprised they put him right in at the second line center. I thought they would maybe ease him in, maybe have him on the third line, but they put him right in there on the Boston line, if you will. He went to Boston College. Cam Atkinson went to Boston College with him, and Joel Farabee went to BU. So they're all on that line. They have some chemistry, and so far so good. But like I said, his timing is a little bit off, and it's just going to get better and better. So, and I think he'll eventually help this power play get on track. But right now you can't complain. 8-4-2, missing those two guys, and they played a lot of road games. They played 7 of 9 on the road and until they came back the other day. So, the schedule will get a little bit more friendly with home games, but they have back-to-back tough tests next week when they play Tampa Bay and Florida in back-to-back games, maybe the two best teams in the NHL. And tomorrow, Thursday, they have Tampa Bay at home. That'll be a tough test too. And we talked to some of the players today, and Rasmus Ristolainen said, "Hey, this is a measuring stick for us to see how far we've come." So I'm anxious to see how they do against the Lightning, who have gotten off to a good start as well.
Yeah, Sam, and I think I look at it. I'm happy 8-4-2 also, but there's a couple guys I wanted to ask you about that to me are off to a little bit of slow starts, and that's Joel Farabee, JVR, Scott Lawton with just 4 points, and Oscar Lindblom with just 1 point in the first 14 games. Reason to be concerned about that, or just getting out of the block slow?
Yeah, I think there's reason to be concerned about Lindblom out of that group because, the first 5-6 games he was playing well and playing physical, and we all know about his battle and him beating cancer, and you kind of thought after an off season where he had a full off season to recuperate, regain his strength, put on some weight, that he would be back to his old self. As you remember, before he was diagnosed with cancer, he had 11 goals in like 30 games, was tied for the team lead in goals. And, no one expected him to come back at that rate last year after a real short off season. But this year, I think they're hoping that, he came in and was like a 20, 25 goal scorer. He has not scored a goal yet. So that's a bit of a concern. And I think once he scores, his confidence level will go up. There's no denying he works as hard or harder than almost anybody on the team. The effort is there, and he says he feels fine. And they gave him a reset last night. He did not play. And then Patrick Brown was injured in the game, and he's going to be out he probably will miss at least a few weeks. They don't know the specifics yet. He has a thumb injury, and they're just saying he's out week to week. So Lindblom will go back into the lineup Thursday against Tampa Bay. And but you're right. Out of all those players, they need to get him, because he looked like a guy who was going to be a 25 goal scorer at least, before the unfortunate cancer diagnosis, and he's got the tools. I think he's a little short on confidence right now, but like I said, I think once they start going in for him, he's going to give that team a lift, especially on the power play. Some of the other guys have scored. They've been a little inconsistent. Farabee's been inconsistent. JVR been inconsistent. TK, Travis Konechny has been a little inconsistent, but they've been good in some games. So I don't think that's a major concern. But they really have to get Lindblom going. I think the injury to Ellis and Lindblom right now are probably the two things that concern them the most. The pluses have probably been Braun and Ristolainen and the resurgence of Carter Hart, and the veterans have played well. I think Giroux has done very well. Couture looks like his old self, and even a guy like Broussard has chipped in. Cam Atkinson has been inconsistent as well. You look at him and you say, hey, he's got 7 goals. He leads the team. You know, why are you complaining about him? Well, he went 8 goals, 8 games without a goal. He finally scored last night. It was opportune time. Of course, he scored the game winner. But they have to get more out of Atkinson, more consistency out of him. He scored 6 goals in the first 5 games and went 8 games without a goal. And as a result, they've been, huffing and puffing to score goals. And luckily, the defense has carried them, though, so far.
Going to be a fun season for sure. And Sam, we're almost out of time, but you wrote a lot about, the alumni being in town over the last couple of days. And what was the Reggie Leach quote that you had in there? Something about, his era versus today's players. What did Reggie say?
Yeah, I thought that was a great quote. He said that some of the guys today, some of the players today tell him that you could never have played in this era, because of the fast-paced game. And he said, well, that's okay. You couldn't have played in our era because the players hit in our era. Nobody gets hit today. And that was a great line. And it's funny because I talked to Rasmus Ristolainen today, and I meant to ask him about that because nobody hits more than him. I think he had 9 hits last night. But what Reggie said, I think there's some truth to that. There's definitely not as much hitting. You guys know. You guys remember the game the way it was. Even 15, 20 years ago, it's a lot different. And Reggie was right on top of that. And it's great talking to those guys because they give you a different perspective. And I always like to hear what they think of today's game. And they love the way that they love the talent today. But sometimes they shake their head that it's not the game that they played. And it's just interesting to talk to them about it.
Hey, Sam, we want to throw another question at you. One of our viewers sent this. I'm going to put it up on the screen real quick. Wondering how much longer before Cam York and Morgan Frost come up. Are they how are they doing down in the farm, and are they getting ready to come?
Yeah, Frost is doing very well. He's leading the team in assists, and if they need another center, he would probably be the guy they call up. But I think Cam York, because of the injury to Ellis, I mean, it all comes down to injuries. And not the fact that York is playing better than Frost or vice versa. It's where the need arises. And I think right now Cam York is in a better spot to be called up. I talked to Ian LaPerriere, I guess about 2-3 weeks ago, to get an update on those guys. He was very happy with the way Cam York was starting to play. He's the first couple games he was a little tentative, but he started to get more aggressive and he's picked that up, it seems like. So I would think that I think they want to get him more experience, but let's just say a month from now, let's say mid to late December, would not be surprised if Cam York is here. And that's not a knock on Nick Seeler. Nick Seeler's done a real good job. He's filled in. He's a veteran. He's given them some good physicality on the back end and has played pretty well. But Cam York gives him another dimension. And gives him an offensive player on the back end, and I don't think they believe he's ready yet, but I think the time is coming, and it could come shortly. A lot depends, of course, on Ellis's injury. Again, they're being very mum on that. But if my guess is right, if they do wait until after the Olympics, then I think you're going to see Cam York sooner rather than later.
Sam, final thing for me, the holidays are coming up, and Flyers fans might well be interested in Lou Nolan's book that you co-wrote, and in this one, that would be the Flyers Big 50. You and Wayne Fish wrote this one. Still available?
Still available. Go to Amazon.com, and they should be available. Your favorite bookstore, Barnes & Noble, and if the easiest way probably is to go to Amazon.com or even to TriumphBooks.com, and appreciate the plug. Wayne and I had a lot of fun doing that, and then Lou Nolan and I, Lou's a character, and we had a great time doing that as well. And I appreciate you mentioning it, and good reading for the holidays.
All right. Well, we are out of time, Sam. We appreciate you joining us. We all follow you on Inquirer.com, and appreciate your good work.
Thank you. Have a great holiday, guys.